So this is a very odd and unusual procedure. Republicans are complaining, why are these interrogations taking place in secret and why isn't a transcript being revealed? And we have a mindset that this is a trial, and a trial is public, and the defendant is there, and the defendant has his or her lawyers, and they're challenging what the government is doing. This is not a trial. This is the prosecutors interviewing their witnesses, and that procedure never takes place in public because you want privacy and you want candor. And you also want to be able to decide, is there really a case here? And those decisions are made in private. So can secret testimony be introduced against the president? Of course not. But the committee, the Intelligence Committee, can decide in secret what to present in public, and then and there it can be challenged. So this is a long process, and we shouldn't be influenced by Hollywood and by our image of a jury trial, because the House gets to write its own rules. It's the piece I wrote this morning, whether they are objectively fair or not. And there's no appeal from those rules. And the rules allow these interrogations in private.
But it looks like a fishing expedition because, there have been very selective leaks. But the leaks only come out when it makes the president look bad.
Right. Because the people doing the investigating have already decided there's a case against the president.
Right,
just like
is that fair?
It's the system. It may feel unfair in our gut, but it is consistent with the Constitution and consistent with the House rules. It's like prosecutors investigating somebody. They really think that person is guilty. They don't announce it. They're looking for evidence to support that idea, or if there's any evidence contrary to it. So Pat Cipollone, the White House lawyer, says, you guys can't issue subpoenas until there's a vote. Well, the Republicans changed the rules when John Boehner was the Speaker of the House, allowing each individual committee to issue subpoenas without a House-wide vote. So those subpoenas are valid, and people who resist them, ignore them, put them in a drawer, do so at your peril. If you get a subpoena that asks for something you don't think you have to produce, you have to challenge the subpoena. You can't ignore it.
This is Fox News' senior judicial analyst Andrew Napolitano dumping cold water on Republicans complaining that the impeachment inquiry is unfair. And they're pointing to this idea that there's no due process, that Trump is supposedly on trial but can't defend himself. Only that's not what this is at all. We're at the impeachment inquiry stage in which the House is conducting interviews for the sole purpose of fact-finding and building its case, which, if impeachment passes, will be tried in the Senate. And this is basic U.S. civics, which you would think the Republican Party wouldn't be so desperate to feign ignorance about. Steve Doocy goes on to complain that the only information coming out makes the president look bad. But here's the thing. The president looks bad whenever information comes out because he broke the law. If he didn't break the law, then he wouldn't take a beating every time more information was revealed. And yes, Napolitano was right when he said that Democrats have already decided there was a case against the president. Because look, this might be a total shot in the dark, but that might be because he withheld military aid to a foreign country on the promise of an investigation into his top political opponent, tried to hide the transcript of the call in a secure server, sent his personal lawyer to act as a shadow State Department to get foreign countries to make Democrats look bad, got caught asking the leaders of the UK, Australia, and Italy for help discrediting the Mueller investigation, went on national television and asked China to open an investigation into Joe Biden, and called the person who gave accurate information to the whistleblower treasonous and suggested they should be executed. But again, who knows, really? Napolitano then takes a veiled swipe at Giuliani, who came out days ago and announced that he wouldn't comply with congressional subpoenas for documents related to the impeachment inquiry, calling it unconstitutional. Notwithstanding that impeachment is literally in the Constitution, what is actually illegal is failing to comply with a congressional subpoena. In other words, using its inherent contempt authority, Congress has the power to arrest and detain Giuliani right now. And they should, because despite the way this administration views itself, no one is above the law. And here's the thing. Republicans know that the process is playing out legally, but they're so desperate for a scapegoat that they'll attack regardless of whether they're in the right or not. Keep in mind, we've seen this before. Republicans attacked Adam Schiff for correctly advising that the whistleblower seek legal counsel and file a complaint with the Intel Community Inspector General. Republicans attacked the whistleblower as a partisan despite not only not knowing the person's identity, but all the contents of the complaint ultimately proving to be true. Republicans attacked the whistleblower for relying on secondhand information despite it being perfectly legal to file a complaint without first-hand knowledge. Trump himself said that the person who gave the information to the whistleblower whistleblower had committed treason and suggested they should be executed. Trump said that what he did with Ukraine was perfectly justified because of a debunked theory that Joe Biden pressured Ukraine to fire a prosecutor to protect his son. Trump said there was no quid pro quo, despite there being evidence that he withheld $250 million in military aid until he secured a promise of an investigation, only to then be contradicted about the quid pro quo by his own chief of staff, Mick Mulvaney. What I'm trying to say is that this was never about the truth. It was only about throwing as much spaghetti against the wall and seeing what sticks. But because Trump's crimes are so obvious and so simple, none of his excuses are working. And no matter what else the White House cooks up tomorrow or the next day or the next day, it'll continue to come across as the desperate flailings of a corrupt man backed into a corner. And it's only going to get more difficult for the White House. More officials are going to end up contradicting the administration's position in that its position is based on lies. Whistleblowers are going to continue to come out. Ambassadors who don't want to go to jail are going to save themselves. Text messages and emails and phone calls revealing the truth will emerge, and Trump will continue to blame everyone other than the one person who's actually responsible.